Hello, everybody. All right, 7 months down, 5 months to go. Happy August, everybody. Of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in, give them a few minutes before we get started. If you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Get in on the news, on the conversation, all that. And of course, as we wait, I'm going to put some music on, go off screen for a moment, go off camera for a moment, take care of a couple of things. And then when I come back, we'll go over what's going to be on tap for tonight. So without any further ado, let's do that. All right, so let me just take care of something real quick here, and then we will go ahead. All right, so with that, all right, so let's see, we're now almost at 4 minute mark there. So let me go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, so for tonight, of course, being the first day of August, we have just a couple articles we're gonna go over. One from Critical Blast, one from Bounding into Comics. RJ yesterday posted an article about, I guess, the latest. The Silver Age lives as Lex Luthor dies. The last days of Lex Luthor. There's a new title that came out on DC's Black Label imprint. RJ brought that article to us on his site, and then there's still some more complaints coming from fans about certain aspects of My Adventures of Superman cartoon. We'll be looking at that as well. That's a Bounding into Comics article. So those two plus the wrestling wrap up. Just some news coming out of WWE. I'll go over what happened on last night's Raw, of course, as this weekend, this Saturday is SummerSlam this year. Also, we'll have, of course, at the end of the night, this day in each history. Today being August 1st. Without any further ado, why don't we go ahead get started on the articles then. Here's the first one we're going to look at here. All right, and again, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly faces in here to join in on the conversation, that'd be appreciated. So with that, without any further ado, let's get going here. The Silver Age lives as Lex Luthor dies, the last days of Lex Luthor. Submitted by R.J. Carter yesterday. Right, so Silver Age of Superman shines again with the latest offering from DC Comics on their Black Label imprint. Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor, of course, the creative team of Mark Waid, Brian Hitch, and Kevin Nolan, finds the villainous Luthor getting Superman's attention in his usual over-the-top signature style, which involves the death of several men. His reason? He's dying. The result of playing around with another death trap meant to kill Superman, which backfired and is now putting his own cells into the state of rapid decay. My guess is, and this was played out much in the comic, Lex Luthor used to wear the kryptonite ring all the time, and albeit slower, the kryptonite radiation did in fact affect him, as well. So just affected Superman faster, obviously. And I guess would ultimately affect any human cells, just the rate might be different from a Kryptonian. Let's see. So he does for him, unthinkable. He turns to Superman for help because he knows, quote, Superman won't let me die, unquote. And he's right. Even surrounded by the bodies of Lex's latest maneuver, Superman vows to help find a cure for Lex. Of course, after he's cured, he also vows to put Lex in prison, just as Lex equally vows to kill Superman once he no longer needs him. Oh boy. Yeah, save your arch enemy so that he can come back and try to kill you again. That's always fun, isn't it, everybody? That's always fun. That's just the way Superman is, though, I guess. And the whole world is made to wonder why. Why would Superman even try to save the life of a man who is easily one of the greatest villains mankind has ever known? The answer to that lies in a story that used to be canon in years past, from a time when the two were both social outcasts in Smallville, and a lab accident that changed Lex's life forever. Going back again to the Silver Age, of course. That's what they're talking about here. But the tributes don't stop there, as Superman's quest for a cure take him and Lex to the Fortress of Solitude, the bottle city of Kandor, and the Phantom Zone. Waid expertly captures the subdued megalomania of Luthor and the undying hope of Superman in this oversized Black Label edition, having Hitch and Nolan come together as an art team intensifies the nostalgic feel of the book, which is sure to become fast favorite of those who have been Superman fans for decades. Alrighty then. Oh, there we go with that one. Hey, Metal. Thanks for dropping in. If you haven't already, of course, if you can like and share the stream, and help see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be great. Also, if if anything here catches your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer those questions to the best of my ability. So, I never liked Lex when he was from Smallville. Always felt it took a lot away from his core character. Well, again, remember he's had Lex Luthor has had many different, he's had a number of different, from like the megalomaniacal mad scientist in the Golden Age, to basically a genius young scientist who grew up with Superman in Smallville, to even to the industrial billionaire in the Bronze Age. So they had a number of different incarnations that some obviously some versions are more favorites than others to people, whichever one you grew up on. So, anyways, now getting ready to move on to the next article, the second and final article we're gonna cover tonight as we head over to Bounding in the Comics here. And this story also has some Superman lore to it, at least in what they're doing with it now, of course, in animated form. There we go. There it is, right there. All right, so 12:15. I have a feeling this one might end up taking a little longer to go over because, of course, this one probably got a little bit more meat bite to it. All right, so fans furious over Lois Lane's rude outing of Clark Kent in My Adventures with Superman. Nerdigans Inc. July 3rd, which was, of course, yesterday, television. So, rude outing, huh? Now, in this case, there could be a double meaning there. I don't know if this crew decided to make Clark gay just to say just for pushing agendas, or if they're talking about outing him as Superman. But I guess we'll find out soon enough here. Fans are furious over the latest episode of DC's anime-inspired romantic comedy, My Adventures with Superman, where Lois Lane's guilt-tripped Clark Kent into coming clean about his superhero identity. Okay, so they explain it right there. Outing him as Superman, I guess. But in today's day and age, you just never can tell with them. Sure, it's many an LGBTQ plus activist to pull that with Clark. They just know they just face so much backlash over it. That's why they decided to do it with Jonathan instead. Anyways, My Adventures with Superman follows the early days of Clark's life in Metropolis, at least this crew's interpretation of it, as he attempts to balance his secret identity with his developing career as an investigative reporter, alongside his roommate colleague, Jimmy Olsen, and Lois. Previous episodes had seen Lois connecting the dots and figuring out that Clark was Superman at the end of My Adventures with Superman's fourth episode, Let's Go to Ivo Tower, you say. Unsmaller quote. Smaller quote, unsmaller quote. So they pretty much had her figure it out early on in the series, as opposed to, because if for those of you who might know some of the Golden Age stories and even the Silver Age stories, it took a long time before Lois really figured out that Clark and Superman were one and the same. But here they made it a lot quicker. leading up to the controversial moment when she guilt trips Clark into revealing his identity. Sharing a clip from the show's fifth episode titled, quote, "You Will Believe a Man Can Lie," unquote, at buggy.com, simply wrote, quote, "Yeah, I'm with Clark on this one. Lois, you crazy," unquote. But again, the thing that Lois has always had to, you know, now granted, in years past, of course, they've had Lois trying to figure out Superman's secret identity and all that. They've dropped hints here and there. Just took a long time before he would reveal it to her. But of course, as with many superheroes, there's a reason they keep their secret identity, and that's so that those they care about are not put into harm's way, right? I mean, we've seen that in many a superhero. I'm reminded, of course, of the GI Joe episode "Cobra's Captives," who, when they found out the GI Joe's real names, went after their families, put them under Cobra's control, and then forced their families to fight their own, Joe members. So that's why superheroes keep a secret identity, where nobody can, go after their families, their loved ones. Instead of thanking Clark for rescuing her, Lois proceeds to accuse him of lying to her, claiming, quote, "A secret is another type of lie," unquote, as the Man of Steel explains that he was afraid she would make the secret identity public. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it now, of course, now that she knows who he is, it puts her in danger, right? Everybody's going to want to get to Superman by getting to her. And if they can figure out, okay, he's Clark Kent, so who else can we go after aside from Lois? Okay, we'll go after Jimmy. We'll go after Perry. We'll go after Mom and Pa Kent. We'll go after Lana. Anybody who's ever been affiliated with Clark and or Superman, right? That's why they have secret identities. Anyways, as always, guys, if you haven't already, you can like and share the stream, and also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that, let's go ahead and continue on here. Despite Lois previously lying to Clark when they first met, and denying she would publish Clark's secrets, she concludes the scene by continuing to paint herself as the victim. Isn't that always the case with SJWs, right? And they're basically pushing the SJW stuff through this too. It's like they don't want no, everybody's a victim. Nobody is responsible for their own deeds. Everybody's just a victim. Breaking up with him for not disclosing his secret. Fans were furious, claiming Lois Lane outing of Superman was an example of the infamous, quote, "omission is still a lie," unquote, trope, which has become synonymous with Amber in Invincible and Tila in Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe Revelation. I myself don't really know because I don't watch those shows, but this is the worst trope in superhero media, unquote, at Dynamo Super X declared, quote, love interest friend gets mad when they find out their partner is a superhero. Just like Amber on Invincible, it's unrealistic and creates unnecessary angst. Unquote. Quote, just to be clear, I'm not saying Lois is the same as Amber, unquote, they noted. Quote, Amber was much worse. I only brought her up because it's just another example of the same trope. Lena Luthor on Supergirl is probably the worst example of the trope, considering she went full villain. Unquote. Let's see if anybody's saying anything for this. No. Quote, I really hate the, in small quotes, an omission is still a lie, unsmall quote, line of thinking, sometimes used in superhero writing, at Cairo Atos proclaimed. Quote, having alter egos is meant to protect those you care for so that your villains don't attack them, which is what I was pointing out earlier. But it just so happens one of those people the hero cares for is always like, quote, bah, why didn't you tell me? Because you're acting like a hysterical female dog. You have her. Unquote. Ah. Quote, no, they dragged Lois to the same depths as Iris West and Mary Jane Watson. Unquote. At Passion Sod weighed in. Um, quote, seriously, when did reporter girlfriends throwing themselves off buildings fully expecting their super boyfriends to save them without complication or hindrance become a trope? At least the other two were done with trust. Unquote. My Adventures of Superman is not the first time Lois Lane forced Superman's hand into revealing his identity. Other fans compared Lois' outing of Clark in My Adventures of Superman to previous iterations of the character, including Smallville, Richard Donner's Superman 2, and comic books. I guess this is one of the scenes they're talking about from the series. So this scene from hashtag My Adventures of Superman is kind of in character for Lois, but it's also one of my least favorite aspects of her. And I wish writers would stop using that, unquote, at B. Bailey, or B. Bally derided. Quote, it was annoying when done in the comics, it was annoying when done in Superman 2, and it was annoying here. So, bottom line, it's annoying. Uh, all right. And feel again, if anything catches your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability, people. Let's see. All right. All right. And that'll bring. As we continue on here, alongside panels from different Superman comics depicting the different stages of Clark and Lois's relationship. At Black the Gamer 1 pointed out, quote, this feels like two love-struck teenagers trying to awkwardly navigate their way through high school. This is not Superman, nor is this Lois Lane, unquote. Which is true. They aged up Jimmy. They made Lois and Clark seem like they're right out of college, and they just did a whole. I mean, as I mentioned weeks ago, when weeks ago when the show started, and it was also being shown, and still also being shown on Toonami. Um, I couldn't get past 5 minutes. So quote, the two always kept a cordial yet professional adult relationship, unquote, he added, quote, slowly growing into a romance. Clark should have been any way more in control of this situation, even when Lois did finally discover Clark's secret identity. She handled it pretty well, unquote. Yes, those are some of the um, scenes they're talking about, I guess. Oh, remember in Smallville when a female love interest found out Clark's secret? At least three did, and then they kept the secret. At Nobicus Maximus recalled, quote, they didn't tell Clark they knew. They respected his privacy and his wishes and even help keep a secret from others. Did no one watch that show? Unquote. Oh, this is such incredibly toxic behavior from Lois, attempting to commit suicide to force his hand and then still reacting like a petty female dog when he revealed his secret to save her bleeping life. Unquote. At HM Bohemond decried. Quote, and what's worse is the show portrays her as in the right. This is such a bad lesson to be teaching children watching this show, especially girls. Unquote. Yeah, it almost sounds like they're going out of the book of Delilah, as it were. Almost like they're trying to paint being a scheming little female dog as something to ascend to or to be proud of. Hmm. Quote, this is, oh, okay, yeah, we already read that part. Quote, and yes, I know the Richard Donner movies did similar, unquote. She acknowledged, quote, it was bleepy back then, too, or poopy back then, too, with Lois acting like a sociopath, but she at least still appreciated why Clark kept it a secret, and didn't guilt trip him for it, unquote. New episodes of My Adventures with Superman premiere Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Pacific on Adult Swim and Fridays on Max. And you can also catch their rerun. They rerun it on Toonami as well on Saturday nights, midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific. So if you're into the show, those are the times you can watch it. Let's see, where are we at now? For a moment there, look like we're going to go a little longer. So we're right at the 30-minute mark. So Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can actually find another story here. Then come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. If there's anything else that we might. All right. So yeah, there's nothing more. Let me go over from here. Let's see. Let's make one last run by in Bleeding Full. Let's see if there's anything. Earlier when I was on there, of course, I didn't see anything. Yeah, still stuff up from that we covered yesterday. Let's see anything here. All right, yeah, nothing really there of interest either. Okay, so now let's see. We're just past the half-hour mark here. Oh, let's see. What else can we talk about? Well, I did mention, of course, the passing of Adrian Street yesterday. Also, over the weekend, one other notable individual passed away, Paul Rubens, better known to most fans as Pee Wee Herman. He passed away after a bout with cancer. He was 70 years old. Most people probably know him from Pee Wee Herman show, some of the Pee Wee Herman movies, and of course Pee Wee's Playhouse. So, among some of the more darker stuff. So, let's see now. Anyways, we'll go ahead and do a quick moment of silence for Paul Rubens, and then I'll figure out what to do next. All right. So with that, so I guess we'll move on to the wrestling wrap up here. We can talk about some of the stuff going on in WWE and AEW. Of course, not a whole lot. Is we did now last night's of course last night's Monday Night Raw, as it's the go home Raw heading into this weekend's SummerSlam. The main event saw Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins get the win on Judgment Day. Judgment Day members Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio, as Seth Rollins, of course, has another title defense against Finn Balor. They've been teasing up the possibility that Damian Priest might try to cash in his Money in the Bank contract after that match, which again they've been hinting at some cracks in the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley was supposed to have a title defense against Raquel Rodriguez, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, they decided to pull that match and substitute it for a Battle Royal. Oops. I once again forgot. Anyways, I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. Put some music on while I take care of that. Should have did that before. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back here. So, anyways, let's continue going back over going on Raw here. Another match some people thought should have been saved for the pay-per-view was Becky Lynch defeating Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, which Becky Lynch won by disqualification. Now, part of the reason they're saying that they decided to have it on Raw instead of having it at SummerSlam was apparently Becky Lynch suffered an injury recently where she may need to take some time off. Gunther defeated Chad Gable in a non-title match as he's approaching the Honky Tonk Man. I think he's like 34 days away from breaking the Honky Tonk Man's record for longest reign as Intercontinental Champion. And they have been dropping some hints that, he's scheduled to defend the Intercontinental Championship this Saturday at SummerSlam against Drew McIntyre. However, people have been driving hints that he may not have. They're like playing up the whole possible division within the Imperium faction, which some commentators have felt may just be a little too redundant, as they of course kind of split up the bloodline with Roman Reigns defending the WWE and Universal titles at this weekend SummerSlam against Jey Uso. They've been dropping hints at possibly splitting up Judgment Day, even though Judgment Day has been one of the most popular factions in recent history. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Tommaso Ciampa. Maxine Dupree, with Alpha Academy in her corner, defeated Valhalla with the Viking Raiders in her corner. Ludwig Kaiser defeated Matt Riddle to open up the show. So with that happened that was all the stuff that went down on Raw. In terms of AEW news, WWE has been taking pot shots at AEW of late. First off, during a promotion for an upcoming episode of a movie coming out in which Samoa Joe portrayed one of the villain characters in it, the WWE just kind of erased Joe from that promo. But also during an interview with A&E for their special on Cody Rhodes, Triple H commented how AEW was a second class promotion. Now there are probably there are AEW fans, some of those in AEW who might disagree with that, and I'm sure that WWE would feel that they're such a second class. Well, here's what I would argue: if they feel they're such a second class promotion, why are they trying to perk some of their talent, right? It's been people have been under the impression that, of course, the Elite and the Young Bucks contracts will be up soon, by the end of the year here, maybe into early next year, and WWE has been trying to get those guys, now granted, WWE has to be careful because since they're still technically under contract, they can't talk to them or contract them, and the WWE is already in trouble with that, as Major League Wrestling is already suing them for that purpose as they try to purge some of their talent away. So, and of course, Brock Lesnar was also on last night, beat up on Cody a bit to kind of draw some heat for their match. Let me see, I guess now I should see the upcoming, so as I said, this Saturday, of course, will be SummerSlam. SummerSlam will be happening this Saturday from the from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. You have, as we mentioned earlier, Roman Reigns defending the WWE and Universal titles in a tribal combat match against Jey Uso. Seth Rollins defending the WWE World Heavyweight title against Finn Balor. Brock Lesnar taking on Cody Rhodes. And it's just going to be a regular match. As people were talking about the possibility of this being the rubber match. They might try to make it a gimmick match, like most notably a Texas Bull Rope match. But apparently that's not what's going to happen. Asuka defends the WWE Women's title in a triple threat match between her, Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair. As we mentioned earlier, Gunther will be defending the Intercontinental title against Drew McIntyre. Ricochet takes on Logan Paul. An MMA rules match, Shayna Baszler takes on Ronda Rousey. And now for the SummerSlam Battle Royal, more participants have been added from what we were talking about last night. So now you have Shinsuke Nakamura, Sheamus, Tommaso Ciampa, LA Knight, Chad Gable, and Otis all are part of that match now. So more names will probably be added as time goes on. Sure, they'll fill it out, fill it out throughout the week, probably on SmackDown later this week. Let's see. So now it looks like we're at 43 minutes here. Let's see. And of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that now, I guess what we can do, we've hit everything else here, so probably would be a good time to start winding things down by talking about what happened on this day in Nietzsche history. History! So let me see, 2018. 1983, 1923, and 2008. Okay. So, without any further ado, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. Today being August 1st, 2023, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. First off, we're going to go back 100 years ago today, as on this date 100 years ago today, the Pat Sullivan cartoons Felix and Fairyland premiered in movie theaters on this date in 1923, 100 years ago today. Felix is reading a book about Fairyland and decides that it must be a wonderful place to be. Suddenly, he hears a cry for help and finds a fly stuck on a piece of fly paper. He rescues the insect, only to have it turn into a beautiful fairy princess, who, in gratitude for his help, grants him one wish. He wishes he were in Fairyland and is immediately transported. Now, this was, of course, still in the time of silent cartoons. I don't think the first full sound cartoon didn't happen until, I think, 1928 with Steamboat Willie by Walt Disney Pictures, Walt Disney Productions. Of course, some people say that they had a Silly Symphonies cartoon out sooner. They had a kind of now that one wasn't as much full. It was a sing-along type cartoon where they had the old bouncing ball bit. So they had the music and you can sing along with it. So so on this date 100 years ago today, Pat Sullivan cartoons Felix and Fairyland premiered in movie theaters on this date 100 years ago today. So, as we now get ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history, as now we head to 1983, which is 40 years ago today, as on this date 40 years ago today, well, maybe not exactly, they just say August here, but we can assume that it was as of August 1st. On this day in 1983, 40 years ago today, Southwest Championship Wrestling's television program on USA Network is canceled by the cable channel. The WWF takes over its time slot with its new program, WWF All American Wrestling. So you could theoretically argue that on this date in 1983, 40 years ago today, was the premiere of All American Wrestling on USA, having replaced the Southwest Championship Wrestling program. Southwest Championship Wrestling was a promotion based out of San Antonio, Texas, run by the Blanchards, Joe, and his son Tully. Of course, by this point, Tully had moved on to JCP, I believe. Well, actually, no, I think he was still there. He's still a big player there, but he was in the process of, but he was starting to go to other promotions and get exposure in other promotions as well. So on this date, 40 years ago today, WWF All American Wrestling premiered on the USA Network, having replaced Southwest Championship Wrestling. Let's see here. Let's see now. 8 minutes. All right, so moving ahead now to the next piece of niche history here. On this date in 2008, Studio Rika's Time of Eve premiered on the net. The Studio Rika's original net animation, Time of Eve, a 6-episode ONA created by Yasuhiro Yoshiura, premiered on this date back in 2008. And then the actual version of Time of Eve premiered in Japan on March 6th. So on this date in 2008, 15 years ago today, Studio Rika's Time of Eve premiered on the net as an ONA. But, as it were, in the not-so-distant future, androids have come into common usage. Rikuya Sakisaka, who has taken robots for granted for his entire life, one day discovers that Sammy, his home android, has been acting independently and coming and going on her own. He finds a strange phrase recorded in her activity log. Quote, "Are you enjoying the time of Eve?" He, along with his friend, so basically it's drama, science fiction, but on this date, 15 years ago today, Studio Rika's Time of Eve premiered on the net as a 6-episode original net animation. And finally, going back just 5 years ago today, on this date back in 2018, the 10th issue of 7 to Eternity from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2018. So 5 years ago today, 10th issue of 7 to Eternity from Image Comics went on sale on newsstands. Sold for $3.99 and was 28 pages. So with that, I thank you all for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Don't forget, of course, this Friday I'll have Rick Piper on from Cross Comics with me as we continue our look back to comics that went on sale in November of 1939. This week we'll be focusing in on Fox Feature Syndicates. We'll be, reading through Fantastic Comics, Mystery Men Comics, and Wonderworld comics. So I hope you all will be back for then. Be back tomorrow night for more niche news. And with that, I thank everybody for being here. And I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.